morning or good afternoon to Mark, and welcome to this special edition of the Island That Sports Talk. I'm your host, Earl Basden, and joining me is Mark Morrison over in the UK as we begin our countdown to the Bermuda Triangle Challenge, which is set to take place in January of 2024. Mark, first of all, thank you very much for taking the time out. I saw that you had put your name forward to come back to Bermuda to compete in this year's uh, mile and full marathon. Um, Take us through. It's been 10 years since you've competed in this weekend's particular weekend's events, and I must say things have changed drastically. It's become more of a party and not a race anymore, which is kind of disappointing for sports people.
Yeah, I'm obviously really happy, glad that there's still a race in Bermuda and still such a good atmosphere with the Bermuda crowds and Bermuda public and running in athletics community in Bermuda. Obviously, it's been a while, but I'm definitely more excited as it gets closer.
Mm. You've been putting in a lot of work over the last few years. You had kind of, I wouldn't say stopped running. You fell out of love with running, but then all of a sudden it just seemed to pop back in that here's this love, and you started doing these long races and even in the cold. So what changed for you to fall back in love with the sport?
I definitely found that as I got a little bit older, obviously started to make changes in my life, and once I had made those changes, really I was bored, and I thought, well, let's see if I could just still do a little bit of running. I got into it again just as a casual thing and more just health and well-being. Can I talk to you for a minute?
Mhm.
Please, I need to talk to you now. This is not acceptable. So I
We
need you
have
to stay somewhere or leave.
we have when you look
Yeah.
at what you need to do, especially let's talk about the mile. Um, that's a as we know, Front Street
Yeah.
is a little different. Um,
Yeah.
Uphill when you get on to the when you get on to the police turn, and then you're uphill all the way to the long tail, and then you're racing back downhill kind of thing. What type of training have you been doing for that particular race? Because um, it's quite unique.
Oh yes. Well, I live in the Cotswolds in the UK, and I don't know if you know, but basically the Cotswolds is like a medium sort of hilly area, and it has a lot of rolling hills and rolling roads. I've actually, over the last couple of weeks, looked with my Garmin and used my bike to basically lay out a course that's near to my house that actually pretty much mirrors the race course on Front Street. So I have obviously been practicing that. But I mean, a lot of the time out here, I'm going on 20, 25, or 30K runs, and they're rolling hills like what you would expect to see in Bermuda anyway. It's pretty much the same sort of terrain as that. So I'm not really that worried about the hill or the slope on Front Street.
Mm, yeah. Let's talk about that full marathon because do you remember those hills in Bermuda? They're painful. They're quite non-forgiving, and basically the full marathon starts in Dockyard and makes its way down the South Shore, and then picks up the half marathon right there by Trimming Hills. So, um, what have you mapped out how you want to strategize that particular part of the race, and then when you get in, you can like pace yourself with a few people.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a good look at the course. Uh, I'm hoping I've seen some videos of it, but I mean, to be honest, I grew up in Bermuda. I've raced a lot of races in Bermuda, and my opinion is the first half of the course is like like a recap of my greatest hits. Let's be honest, you know.
Right.
Let's go Dockyard, like 5 flat miles, all that sort of stretch right there. Then basically you're coming down. You got that railway trail sort of run. I used to live out in Somerset, and I done a lot of running along that stretch there with up to the bridge and whatnot. And then obviously there is once you get on from Barnes Corner, once you get on to South Shore there, those rollers. I mean, I grew up doing lots of races. That Bermuda Regiment race, I've
Hmm.
won that before, so obviously I know that long stretch along there. My daddy now or was living up at Whale Watch, so I've trained along South Shore all the way into town, Rural Hill. That was always you know key part of running up and down for me in trainings. And then obviously once the half marathon guys turn off there up to Trimham Hill, once those guys turn off, I'll be pretty much back in my home area. I'm
Hmm.
from Smiths. I used to do my runs up along Middle Road and then cut back through Berry Hill Road and then come back South Shore to Collectors Hill. So I know that stretch all the way back to Collectors Hill really well. Obviously, I took part in loads of the MAC Tuesday night fun run, and
Hmm.
also I took part in a whole bunch of other races that went down along there. Obviously, the old marathon course, found its way along there all the way to um, up to McGall's Hill and then over the top to John Smith's. Uh, all places I've run lots of times, all places where I've had success previous to this, and I think that basically my once we get over John Smith's and once we get onto Harrington Sound, obviously as an avid young triathlete, I was doing a lot of those Harrington Sound. That Harrington Sound stretch is basically a stretch where I can obviously remember competing at triathlons and having chase downs with the likes of Jonathan Herring and Brian Steinoff and Tyler Butterfield and people. So hopefully that will work out well. I know a lot of the roads. Again, I've had success in these places. Once you get into flats, that's basically my back door.
Hmm.
Um, I grew up in Middle Road by the satellite dish at the top of the hill there by Penthurst Park. So
Hmm.
obviously that's like my stomping ground all the way back to Store Hill. I like the little rollers. I know I'm showing my age, but remember where Clay House and that is?
Yes,
You know,
yes.
oh man, I've had some good ones from flats all the way back to Spanish Point. Or all the way back to the roundabout there where the turning off was for the 10K. For years and years and years, raced that. That was my first sort of taste of elite racing, and basically, once you go across there, I've raced a whole bunch of races that go up along the front there by Barkley, all the way past. I went to Saltus. We used to run along that North Shore. Um, Barkley, Northlands, all the way along that stretch right there, up to Point. Always known that, you know, I've won at Fidelity Couples, the 5 miler, and
Yes.
I've been up into Point so many times and had to run that stretch back across Point Shares to back to Front Street. So I've done all of those things a whole bunch of times. I mean, I had a little look at the course. I was a guy from the States who did a video of himself. And he weren't even an elite. It was just a guy who went on a run there, and you know, he basically had the film of him running with his GoPro. So I looked at it and I thought, oh yeah, this is the race. This is where it is. I've spent a lot of time here doing these sort of things, and um, just just I think for me it's gonna be like a sightseeing recap, really. Enjoy myself, see how it goes. I mean, there's obviously different situations. It's a different situation in a marathon, but my hope is that it doesn't go too fast too early, and I'm able to enjoy a bit of sightseeing at least until we get to like John Smith's. because
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you, over the last few years, have you looked at the times for the full marathon? And well, we've only done the Dockyard loop a few times, but have you looked at the times and do you say are they compatible to what you can actually do under what has been won before?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I looked at the times, but in respect to everybody else and everyone who's been racing there for a couple of years now at the race, and everyone who's done, you know, who's done marathons before, basically that course, I personally think, man, it might be the greatest hits of all the road runs in Bermuda and all the road races, but man, that's a hard course. I had a good look at it and went through it with my coach, James T, and we talked about different things. And, the main thing is don't go out hard. That first 16 miles is serious and you will pay. And let me just tell you, if it's windy coming down North Shore, yeah, you're gonna suffer because if you let it go, I mean, a lot of guys. I spoke to a guy, Sean Trott from
Yes.
Bermuda, very experienced runner and definitely
Hmm.
one of the best in the local scene. Um,
Hmm.
you know, and respect to him, and he told me, "Oh yeah, well, after 16 miles, when you go across McGall's Hill, that's it. It's all flat." I said to him, "I don't, I don't think so. No, 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 no. Because I remember Harrington Sound's got a couple of little punches in it. You know, you get on North Shore, wait till you get down by Northlands and all that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They got some nice punches up to Admiralty House, and then
Yes.
it might not be an uphill, but that long downhill out of Point, that's
Yeah.
gonna hurt at that stage in a marathon. That's gonna hurt guys' legs, you know. So
Hmm.
my my thing is all respect to the times, and Bermuda weather is so crazy. One year it could be nice, we could have perfect weather, but then in
Right.
a second later or the next year, we would end up having torrential
Torrential.
downpours,
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
hurricane conditions, and I
Hmm.
would think, well, that would definitely put a slowdown on the time. So I mean, I think Dennis ran 2:30 something, 2:30 and a
Yeah.
half, maybe 2:31, something
Hmm.
like that. I mean, if
Right.
that's good on that course, that is serious. That's a serious course. And, all respect to guys who were able to run that quick on it.
Right.
So, yeah, I think, man, this for me, it's like a championship race. It's not about going for the time. Obviously, if I feel like, if I'm close to a time that I sort of set out as a goal, then I will go for that time.
Hmm.
But I mean, really and truly, it's more a championship race where everyone's got to sort of run together. You watch the pack, you let guys do some of the work, you let yourself do some of the work, or whatever needs to happen. And just when you get towards the end, maybe have a 10K burn up. But, it depends on how it plays out, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me ask because um, one of the things you coming back, the emotion of people calling out your name and you get excited, and how we plan to curb that excitement to ensure that you don't get caught up in going a lot faster than what you anticipate you should go.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I think like even over a half marathon, you got to conserve some time. You can't just go out and absolutely hit it. I mean, there's a couple of theories with a marathon. My thing is that obviously it's about control. It's about knowing not necessarily what the pacing is. Like I was saying, the time ain't really a big deal for me. It's more about following the group, following, you know, what's happening in the race, letting it play out in front of you. And I think at 39 years old now, I'm a lot better than that than I used to be. I used to just think, yeah, well, we'll just go out and smash it and see what happens. And I mean, I've made that mistake at the National Half Marathon Championships. Well, quite a lot of years back, but with Kevin Smith, I just took off at about 11 miles and he caught me up and he went
Mm.
by me, and he beat me by about 20 odd seconds. But that's a learning experience. So now my thing is, I because I'm 39, I try and listen to my body more. So I'll be listening to what's happening for me, you know, and it's like the matchbook theory. You don't want to burn all your matches off, especially before you get to 20 miles.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. When do you plan to arrive in Bermuda?
So I'm coming in on Thursday. I think it's the 11th, so the day before the mile,
Hmm.
and obviously I'll be staying for the whole weekend and a couple of days to see my family. You know, my granny just celebrated her 92nd birthday, so
Okay,
I'll be there
congratulations.
to do some other things as well. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah. Well, we look forward to seeing you in Bermuda and enjoying the sights and sounds of Bermuda yet again. Um,
yeah.
and we wish you all the best for that weekend.
If I could just say as well as a big thank you to everybody who's, you know, obviously involved with the Bermuda Triangle Challenge and everybody who supported me on this journey and things. But a main big thank you to Mark Harris, who's one of the race directors. He's gone above and beyond to help me out and make this all possible. So um, definitely a big thank you. And I want to encourage everybody to come out and watch the races. It'll be really, really good. And hopefully, from my point of view, let's put on a big show. I mean, Friday night's going to be a banger. You know, I heard Lamont's going to be there, Dage is going to be there. I'll be there. So a couple of American guys. So I know it's not the most elite field, but we can definitely put a good show on for everybody.
All right. Well, we look forward to that Friday night and then look forward
Yeah.
to the weekend full of racing.
Thank you so much.
All right. Safe travels.
Thank you so
Enjoy your
much.
day.
Cheers. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.